State Representative Jeff Leach of Allen, thank you so much. Welcome back to Eye on Politics and Happy New Year.
Thanks. Happy New Year to you. Thanks for having me.
You bet. And so here we are. We're days before the next legislative session. And the first thing the House members are going to vote on is a speaker. And you are supporting Representative Dustin Burrows over Representative David Cook, even though Cook won the majority support from the House GOP caucus. Why is that?
Well, look, I've known Dustin Burrows for a long time. I've been desk mates with Dustin the past 3 sessions, and Representative Burrows is a rock-solid conservative. He's actually the conservative choice in this race. If you look at his record, Jack, not just voting the right way on issues that matter to conservatives, but actually rolling up his sleeves and fighting to advance the conservative cause that our voters care about, whether it's banning abortion, passing constitutional carry, strengthening the border, protecting our children. I mean, on all of these issues, Chairman Burrows has been right on the front lines fighting for those victories. And so it's no question for me who is best prepared and trusted to lead the House. And for me and the constituents that I represent here in Collin County, that's Representative Burrows.
So why is all these other folks who are backing Representative Cook, why are they wrong? And we're talking about the Texas GOP chair, the Texas Attorney General. Why are they all wrong?
Well, those 2 gentlemen are wrong on a lot. But generally, look, Representative Cook is a good man. He's a good state representative. He serves his district well. But when it comes to electing the Speaker of the House, the first vote that we'll cast on the House floor, 150 members get to vote on who we trust, who shares our values, who cares about the House, who has the experience and the credentials necessary to lead the House. For me and for many of the folks who are supporting Representative Burrows, electing a true servant leader who wants to make sure that all 150 members are empowered to represent their districts. That's what I'm focused on. I'm not going to get into the gutter, the negative attacks on Representative Cook or any of his supporters. I believe that they're wrong on this, but I respect their right to disagree. But as for me, I'm eagerly and proudly supporting Representative Burrows for Speaker, and I think he's going to do a tremendous job.
I saw Governor Abbott back last month tweeted that, just like the rules say, House GOP caucus, whoever wins that's a caucus rule. They should back whoever won that. That was Governor Abbott who said that. And when the Attorney General has been out, he said that Republicans should stand firm on that rule. So why is that rule something that you don't feel is, it's okay to not live by, so to speak?
Well, look, the most important pledge, the most important commitment that we make as House members is not to any caucus or any other member or to any other elected official. The most important pledge we make is to our constituents, to the 31 million Texans that are depending upon the Texas House to make sure their voices are heard in their House chamber. And so the outside noise, the outside voices, the outside comments, if it's not coming from our constituents or it's not something I'm paying attention to. I was there in the caucus meeting on December 7th. I've been a part of this process for several months. I wish the process had been more open and transparent, more reliable. I wish that things had gone different, but they didn't. And so we can't change what happened in the past, but looking forward, the question is very clear for all of us, is who is best prepared, who is best equipped to faithfully lead the House over the next 140 days in the 89th legislative session. And Speaker Burrows, there's no question to me that Chairman Burrows is going to win and do a great job as Speaker.
One thing that the grassroots Republicans, there were a lot of them at this event with the Attorney General, and they have said a couple things. People who have supported Cook, they point to a couple things. One, they say he doesn't support Democrats serving as committee chairs, and they also point to, yesterday the Attorney General said that this was a case of moderate Republicans joining Democrats to select a speaker, and the conservatives should be the ones to select. So what do you say to that?
I wish the Attorney General would focus on his actual job of running the Attorney General's office than getting involved in these House political squabbles. I've heard a lot of what the Attorney General has said out on his tour of terror, if you will, across the state, and he's talking a lot about himself, He seems to be complaining a lot about what's happening in the House when our conservative record over the past few sessions is very clear. Our conservative agenda going into this next session, continuing to crack down on property taxes, securing the border, protecting our children, finally passing school choice in Texas. Those are the things that we're focused on. The Attorney General should focus on doing his job. I've been chairman of the House Judiciary Committee now for 3 sessions. We have jurisdiction over the Office of the Attorney General. I've invited General Paxton to come testify and talk about the agency now for 3 sessions, and he's never showed up. And I have very real concerns about the Office of the Attorney General, some of the things that I'm hearing and seeing out of that agency.
Like?
And I wish the Attorney General would, instead of focusing on these political squabbles, would go back to work and do his job.
Well, to your point, what are you talking about as far as your concerns about the office?
Well, look, the Office of the Attorney General involves a lot more than just suing the Biden administration. Of course, that's important, and the Attorney General has done a lot of really great work on standing up for the fundamental rights, the constitutional rights of Texans, and protecting Texas against an increasingly radical federal government. And the Attorney General and his team have done great on that, and they are to be commended. But the Office of the Attorney General also does a lot of other really important work, protecting consumers, protecting the rights of Texans, child support collections. There's a lot of work that the thousands of employees in the Attorney General's office are charged with doing. And when I look in my role as chairman with jurisdiction over that agency, and I see some of the things, the lawyers that are leaving, the people that are leaving the agency, people who've been there a long time, I'm very concerned with it. And so all that to say, the Attorney General should focus on his job, and we'll continue to push forward with a bold conservative agenda in the Texas House.
The Attorney General did mention his impeachment, which he said served as a catalyst now in this effort to make the House more conservative. And one thing that he has said, and the Lieutenant Governor has been really still hammering this home, is why didn't Dade Phelan, why still hasn't he said and announced how much the House has spent on that impeachment trial? What can you tell me about
well,
that?
I haven't talked to Speaker Phelan about that.
Do you think he should release that amount?
I have no problem whatsoever when it comes to opening up government for the people of Texas, being transparent. When it comes to sunlight on government, I say the more the better. And so I'm absolutely open to that. And I have no idea why it hasn't happened yet. But that's not what my constituents are talking about. My constituents, when I knock on their doors, when I talk to them in public, when I see them in our school, in the grocery store, they're talking to me about rising property taxes. They're talking to me about protecting the border. They're talking to me about protecting our kids. They're talking to me about school choice. Those are the issues that my voters are talking to me about. And so those are the issues that I'm focused on going into this next legislative session. As
you know, the Texas Comptroller on Monday is going to give, the surplus, how much the surplus is, but he's estimated it's going to be about $20 billion. Governor Abbott has been out there as well. And how much of it do you think should go back to maybe increasing property tax relief?
Well, as much as possible. That is not our money. That is the money of the people of Texas. And so as much as possible in the terms of property tax relief, providing school choice, we need to make sure that we continue to do that. Last session, we passed the biggest property tax cut in the history of the state. This session, we need to do more because taxes are going back up. And so living in Texas, raising a family in Texas should be affordable. And when I hear from constituents about the skyrocketing property taxes, I'm alarmed by that. So we need to do more while also investing in the core competencies of government, supporting law enforcement, securing the border, making sure that we're doing everything that we can to make sure government is running like a well-oiled machine while also protecting the freedoms and liberties of Texans. Those are the things that we're going to be focused on this session, along with the governor's office and our counterparts in the Senate.
So let's talk about school choice, because you brought it up. Governor Abbott has said taxpayer-funded education savings accounts, because that's what we're talking about. So students can go to private school. He says he's got the votes for that in the House. Do you believe that to be true?
Yes.
And how do you, have Republicans behind the scenes in the Senate and the House, have they been working on bill, a joint bill, et cetera, so that we don't see the fights that we saw play out over property tax relief, and which led to a couple of special sessions?
The governor has ably and boldly led on advancing school choice here in the state of Texas. It is high time for us to get this done. I believe that we have the votes to get it done in the House, and I think that we'll do so. I'm hopeful that we will, and I'm hopeful that the governor will declare it one of his emergency items early in session. Conversations have been happening around the clock in the House and the Senate really since last session, since we were unable to get it done last session. And really the focus is not on private school or public school or homeschooling or the system. The focus is on the nearly 6 million school children in Texas and making sure that they're not indoctrinated but educated, prepared for a rapidly competitive worldwide economy here in Texas, that our state is well situated going forward into the future. And school choice, parental choice is a key part of that. Competition is a key part of that, while also investing in our public education system and paying teachers more, supporting our schools, making sure that school safety is paid for. All of these things are going to be part of the conversation, and I'm hopeful and expectant that the 89th legislative session will finally be the session that we're able to get this done.
What about, you mentioned public school funding. There's been a lot of calls for increasing how much school districts are paid per student, and that the last time that was raised was 2019. There's been a lot of inflation since then, costs have risen, et cetera. And do you think, would you support that, raising
the basic allotment?
The basic allotment
Yes.
For the school districts, and do you think that the legislature, just like they did in 2019, should set specific dollars aside requiring school districts to use that money to increase teacher pay?
There's no question. The answer to your question, both your questions, is yes. We should increase the basic allotment. How much that is the devil's in the details. Will have to be considered and figured out during the legislative session. There's no question that teachers need to be paid more. With the rising cost of living, inflation, as we're seeing not only here in Texas but across the country, we want to make sure that our teachers are well prepared and that they're well taken care of, I should say, and able to live comfortably. Our teachers, not only active, but our retired teachers and future teachers as well. My daughter wants to be a teacher someday, and I don't want the cost of living in Texas or her pay to prevent her from doing so. And so we need to increase teacher pay, and I'm confident that this session that we will.
You also brought up border security, and now we know we're just days away from the second Trump administration. He has said he's going to crack down on illegal immigration. And after the election in November, Governor Abbott said, well, maybe, once things ramp up, the state won't have to spend the billions of dollars that it has had to prevent illegal immigration. So where are you on that? Do you think the state could be in a position of spending less money on border security, but at the same time, there's also been legislation filed to have a border protection unit?
Sure.
So where are you on all that?
Well, look, the voters in this country, the voters here in Texas gave us, elected officials at all levels, from the White House to the State House, a mandate. They have told us what they expect, and securing the border is at the top of that list. And so I'll do you one further. Not only is Texas well positioned to partner with the federal government and reduce the state share of securing the border, but I also think that we should approach the federal government to seek a refund of the billions of dollars that we've already spent to secure the border. These are property tax dollars from Texans that they're being double taxed on, that are not going to secure the border because the federal government has refused over the last several years to do its job. Now we have a willing and able and eager partner in the Trump administration to secure the border, and I'm very, very confident that that Republicans and Democrats, because securing the border and public safety is not a partisan issue. It shouldn't be, at least. And so I'm hopeful that we'll finally and fully secure the border, and having President Trump in the White House, along with Governor Abbott here in Texas, confident that we're going to get that done.
Well, members of Congress from Texas, Republicans, have said they filed bills to reimburse the state.
Yeah.
So, maybe that's a conversation.
I don't know if it's ever been done before, but it's definitely a conversation that needs to be had.
I also want to ask you about the Robert Robertson case.
Mm-hmm.
You've been very involved, along with Democrat Joe Moody of El Paso and a whole bipartisan coalition of state lawmakers.
Correct.
About this issue. Why is this so important to you? And I remember, seeing remarks from Governor Abbott and the Attorney General basically telling lawmakers this is an executive office function, butt out.
Well, look,
Did I characterize that correctly?
Yeah, you did. I think in so many words. I mean, look, the Robert Robertson case has troubled me and many other lawmakers on both sides of the aisle for a long time. And the reason that we've spoken out is, at least I'll speak for me, is when I say I'm pro-life, I mean that I'm pro-life from the womb to the tomb. And when I see a potentially innocent Texan within minutes and just steps away from, let's not mince words, potentially being put to death by the state for a crime that he possibly didn't commit, a crime that may not have even occurred, then I believe it's incumbent upon me to speak out, and that's what we've done here. And simply, all we're asking, Jack, is for the pause button to be pushed and for Mr. Robertson to be afforded a new trial back in Anderson County.
Is that going to happen?
Well, so much about his case is troubling. The system has failed him at every turn. I'm proud of what we've done. It's been unprecedented. There's been no instruction manual or rule book for what we've done, but it's all been in an effort to protect the fundamental rights of Mr. Robertson, the chief of which is the right to life. And so, if he can get a new trial, we'll be satisfied, and I'm hopeful and expectant that he ultimately will.
How is that going to happen? Because when, if I'm not mistaken, the state Supreme Court said the legislature doesn't have the right to prevent someone being put to death.
Sure.
The legislature does have a right to compel testimony. Is that right?
That's correct.
And so at this point, though, the clock may be running out on that effort. So what would it take for there to be a new trial, in your opinion?
Well, look, the governor of Texas constitutionally has the sole authority to grant reprieves or pardons. The Board of Pardons and Paroles exists for that very reason as an agency of the executive branch. The judicial branch, of course, through the court system, through the trial and the appellate courts, they have a role. But the legislature also has a role. And central to this case has been our very real concern in the legislative branch that a statute, our junk science statute that we passed in 2013, and then that we partnered with Governor Abbott in 2015 to strengthen, is not being followed, that it's largely being ignored by the courts. And so we're going to pursue legislation this session that works to improve and strengthen our junk science law. And I'm hopeful that Mr. Robertson's case, I'm expectant that it will have shed a necessary light on that statute and on this issue for all three branches of government to work together to make sure that his liberties and the liberties of future Texans are protected.
Have you discussed this with the governor?
Not directly, no.
And is that something you plan on doing?
I'd love the opportunity to discuss this case with anyone who will listen, from the governor to any other legislator. And look, this to me is an issue that is ripe for conservatives to lead on, because I talk a lot about, other conservatives talk a lot about how government is broken, how it's not fulfilling its purpose, how it's not serving the people that it's meant to serve. And we're right to do so, and that includes the criminal justice system. And by asking tough questions and engaging in complicated cases like this, and maybe doing things that Republicans typically have not been real eager to do, pushing the pause button on a death penalty case, I'm hopeful that all of that will not weaken the system, but strengthen the criminal justice system going forward. And I say that as a death penalty supporting Republican. I support the death penalty, and that's why I'm against executing potentially innocent Texans.
State Representative Jeff Leach of Allen, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jack.
We
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Thank you.